This is the third video I'm recording, but it's going to be first. The second video is going to be second. The first video is going to be third. How you like that? So, did you like the drawing that I did for the opal? Did you like the box of rocks idea? I hope you did. If you did like the drawing for the opal, one of the things that even the people that just donate $1 a month on my Patreon page get, one of the things they get is they're automatically entered in those drawings. They don't need to, all of my patrons are automatically entered in the comment, share, and like drawings. So they don't need to actually do those things in order to be entered in them, but in all honesty, I expect most of them do anyways. So they get monthly drawings for minerals and specimens and gems that I'm going to cut and all that stuff, and that's every month they have something like that go on. Whereas with YouTube and just it's sort of being, it's definitely going to be random on that one, when I can fit it in, when I feel it's appropriate, when I have something I want to give away. But for the most part, most of the giveaways are going to the Patreon page. And the other thing the Patreons mainly get, which in my mind is going to be the biggest benefit, is my life. Now I'm going to show you a video a little bit about that. Alright, so the video I just recorded seems very somber and depressing, but I'm not depressed about what I'm talking about. It's difficult for me to give snippets of what's gone on without expanding on a giant story. And that's the reality of that. So I'm actually going to play this video right before I show you the video that I just shot. And I want you to understand that I'm not depressed by any of that. I've mentally dealt with all the crap from my childhood. Like, I understand how to deal with myself on most levels. I still have issues. I have giant issues that still affect me from my childhood. But as to talking about it, the world has been my soundboard, and any of you out there that have met me in person, you guys know this, because I freely tell some of the crazy stories of the stuff that I've been through. For instance, I was one of the first persons to ever get trespassed from the Portland International Airport in the 90s. When I was 12 and 13 and 14 years old, I would take a bus, because you could ride the bus for free at those ages, at those times in Portland, Oregon. Even by yourself. You didn't need an adult with you. You could just get on the bus. They wouldn't even ask for a ticket. And I would go down to the Portland airport, and I would grab carts and that were returnable for a quarter, and I would return carts for a quarter, man. And I realized one day that not only could I return carts for a quarter, but maybe I could make more money, because I noticed that these guys that are supposed to be carrying people's bags, they weren't actually carrying people's bags. They were like leaning up against, they were called sky caps. They used to have these guys back in the day. They don't have them now, not really. But sky caps used to hang out in the baggage claim area, and they were supposed to be there to help you carry your bags to the car after you got off a plane. Now, there was an expected tip back in the day, and then before they disappeared, there was expected payment. But the problem with this job was that the people that held the job didn't really go out and hustle and ask people if they'd like their bags carried. Not that much that I noticed, at least when I was young. What I noticed is that they were all hanging out in the corner while people are getting off their planes, and I'm trying to round up carts for a quarter, and there's like 5 of them talking, and all these people are having problems with their bags. So I decided to walk up and start asking people, hey, would you like help with your bags out your car? They'd be like, how much does it cost? I'd be like, oh, it's tips only, tips only. And man, I would make some money. And there's a lot more to this story. Like, I have a couple of really funny, weird, amazing, and embarrassing things that happened while I was doing this over a couple years period, because it took a couple of years for security to really catch on, bust me, take my picture, call a police officer, and have me taken to my house and told that I'm not allowed to do this anymore. So, although, you know, yeah. Crazy times, man. Anyways, so I wanted to let you know that my stories don't depress me. And I'm very animated about telling them. But when I just rewatched the video that you're about to see right now, it's difficult for me to give little snippets. And that's why it is the way it is. So I noticed that I'd left that part out, and there's a lot of very adventureful things I did as a kid, because my life was hell as a child. It really was hell. As a matter of fact, me and my wife were at one of her friends' houses one night. We were having dinner with an English gentleman that her friend has married. Cool guy. I don't know. I think they're married. Cool guy. And after we had a few drinks and I told a couple of stories, he says, you should name your book And You Thought Your Life Was Shit. So it's funny to me. It might not be that funny to you, but it's very funny to me. So here comes what seems depressing, but it's really not. It's just giving you a snippet of what's gone on in my past and what I told you guys I was going to put up here anyways. And if you really want to know the interesting stories and you want to help me sort of arrange it, because I don't know if I'm going to end up writing it or how it's, or maybe I'll end up, maybe I should just take a camera and do a documentary on it before they destroy Portland, because Portland is changing so much. The house side that this stuff happened and other stuff happened, it might not be there much longer. That's how fast Portland's changing. The parks might not be there much longer that some of this stuff happened in. So, yeah, I got a bunch of crazy stories, man. And, on to the next video right now. If you ever watched Married with Children, which I watched a lot of it, like a lot of other people I knew, I loved that show. I wished my family would have been that cool. And I don't mean now. I mean then. I mean when I was a kid. Watching the worst family on TV and understanding that my family was so much worse. And I wished that I could have just been in a family that had half the amount of camaraderie as that dysfunctional TV family did. One of my youngest memories is of stealing. One of my other youngest memories is of being in strip clubs, 8 years old, maybe younger. The first time my stepdad packed a backpack and put it on my back and told me my mom didn't want me anymore and it was time for me to leave the house and be a man, I believe I was 10 or 11 years old. We lived in Portland, Oregon at that point. I can't use the word abuse to describe my childhood because there were so many different things that went on that looking back on it now as an adult that's trying to give my kids some sort of normal, good upbringing. My childhood was tortured, and that's an honest truth about it. It was tortured. My stepdad used to dress me up like a Boy Scout and run scams on our neighborhood. He died due to his abuse of me. My mother blamed me and my sister for that our whole lives. The first time I would ever really consider myself homeless, I was 15 years old, and it was almost springtime in Fairbanks, Alaska, and my mother kicked me out in the snow. For 3 days, I slept in a homemade igloo near my buddy's house in this empty lot made of plywood and snow. During the day, he'd let me in his house, but at night, he wouldn't let me in his house. And he had brought me some blankets and stuff like that, and I slept out there and not really slept, but I made it through the nights for 3 nights until his mom found out what was happening and she took me in. My stepdad used to lock me in a room for days on end and give me a glass of water and a sandwich and tell me, this is what you're going to get in prison. By the time I was 12, By the time I was 12 years old, no, 13 years old, by the time I was 13 years old, my mother had abandoned me to the state, or attempted to abandon me to the state 3 times. She had successfully abandoned me to the state 3 times. The 4th time, they wouldn't take me. The first time I ever really did any jail time was because my mother put me there with lies. By the time I was 19 years old, I was a prolific downtown marijuana, acid, and ecstasy dealer. And I got busted with 19 other people selling pot under the North Star Project, which was the name of the police task force that was built specifically for this operation. When I was 21, I had a 6-month run of having free reign of a 4-story Gothic church, all ages nightclub. By the time I was 21, I had gotten out of my first 3-year stint in prison. And I did a second stint in prison, about 12 years, 13 years after that, for having ecstasy on me and for buying a stolen TV. Now we're here. If you'd like to know the full story of my life, become a patron. Also, what my patrons get is they automatically get entered in any free giveaways that are shared on YouTube and Facebook. They don't need to do any of the sharing or commenting. Their names are already entered in the drawings. Also, I do monthly drawings and giveaways of minerals and specimens and stones that I'm going to cut to my patrons, depending on what levels they're on. The details are so much better than this video. Thank you for watching.